Hand over your money.
This is some sort of joke, right? But you don't understand. I don't have the money. I left the checks and Hold on. I have a gun.
I'm a member of the American Switchblade Association. We don't believe in guns.
Do you believe in guns now?
All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to Dixieland, the Proletariat. We're going to talk about Southern working class history and current events through a leftist perspective. Make sure to like us on social media at Dixieland, the Proletariat, or Dixie Prol. If you want to give your wages to a bunch of rednecks, and subscribe to our Patreon page at patreon.com/DixieProl. We got a lot of cool stuff to give you, including CDs, stickers, and I guess a cookbook. I have no idea. This podcast is brought to you by Newport 100 in the Box, Camel Silvers, Black Coffee, vaping, and 5.56 millimeter rounds, because AKs are way too expensive. Shout out to our new Patreon subscribers, Marissa, Ethan, Bradley. Our monthly Patreon surplus goes to groups that are run by and help marginalized people directly. As always, I'm Nelson with Senior Telecommunications Director Tommy, Comrade Kate. Brother William is MIA, and Tyler's probably pissed drunk in a field somewhere because it's his birthday. And our guests tonight are Eugene and Mike from Northeast Alabama SRA, that's Socialist Rifle Association. Thanks for coming on, y'all. How's everybody doing? I got my George Soros check, by the way.
I'm still waiting on mine. This is Mike.
Nah, mine came in a while back. Y'all just need to fill out the correct forms.
Now is it it's the T34 form, right? Because
it's the ACAB 12 form.
Damn it, I filled out the wrong one. Did y'all get yours? Tommy, Kate, I got my George Soros check. I mean,
I've got 20 years of checks that have good faith are in the mail on the way to me.
I think
for actions across this damn country.
I was supposed to get travel expenses.
Nobody goes to work for unions unless they're getting fucking paid by a boss, because that's the only way that makes sense.
I had a plane ticket to Minnesota, but
we always get
I don't know.
It's somewhere in there. I don't know. They're burning some fucking city. I don't fucking know. It seems like it's everywhere now, so it doesn't matter. Oh my God. Anyway, this could be like the fourth episode in a row we talk about the protests. I went to one in Montgomery and I wanted to cry because it was one of those where it was about love. And the cops were there and they had signs and they were like, "We kneel with you." And I'm like, that's what got us in this fucking problem in the first place, is y'all kneeling. And just like, luckily there are like a few radical speakers that like called them out on some stuff, but mostly it was like, "Thank you for being here, MPD. Yay, this is great." And it's just like, oh my fucking God, why?
The Memphis unbridled bullfuckery update is after the mayor announced that he would put together a task force, because you know how effective task force are, to have a meeting once a week for the next 4 weeks to explore options on like methods of addressing the relationship between the community and the Memphis Police Department. The chairwoman of our city council proceeded to block 3 resolutions presented by Black city council members to address police reforms, and announced that there would be no police-related resolutions to make it to the floor this week. And then later on that day that we found out that the first of these 4 meetings happened, and multiple community organizations, religious leaders, what have you, had reached out to request meetings or participate and were denied. And the group was cherry-picked from people, that aren't actually connected to like community advocacy groups. And their great recommendation to Mayor Strickland and Commissioner of Police Mike Rawlings was sensitivity training.
Jesus fucking Christ. God, I hate liberals so fucking much.
If you are a Memphis, Tennessee, Shelby County, Tennessee area listener, Please, at the bare minimum, go on Facebook and follow our local DSA chapter, who are organizing some concrete actions in the next couple of weeks to address the fact that we're actively being blocked from even being able to bring any divestment resolutions to the mayor while we're being essentially told to wait for whatever Band-Aid he wants to slap on this issue. So like there's real action afoot. Yeah, that's the update from the ground up here.
So I've seen on I don't know if y'all have like on Facebook, y'all have like City Watch pages. We had a great, horribly racist one at like 60,000 strong in Montgomery. And like everyone who lives in the suburbs is just petrified at the idea of the police being disbanded, because they think that like it's just after that it's just going to be the purge, and like just marauding bands of people are just going to run into the suburbs and just start just like looting and pillaging. And it's just like that no, they think that police is like the only line of protection between like the city and the suburbs. And it's like, get the fuck out of here. No one wants to come into your fucking fake ass plastic fucking neighborhoods. My mom used to live in like one of the, like she lived there for like a year and she absolutely hated it. Like one of the like, if there was an actual neighborhood based on Get Out, like this was what it would be. And I would roll in there and be like traumatized and thinking like, why the fuck does everyone have a golf cart and driving around everywhere? Why are these roads so narrow? And why is there a creepy ass church here in the middle of the neighborhood? And I'm just like, these are the fucking people who think that like, if the police are gone, it's just going to be total anarchy, when we all know that the police are causing all the fucking problems. They're the ones that show up to these fucking protests and start bashing heads and making it just horrible. And they're the ones that are in the communities terrorizing people, and they're the ones that are causing all the fucking problems. And it's just that it's, I don't know. It's fucking wild.
Speaking of dirty cops, I do want to talk about what happened in DC and the DC county prosecutor like going nuts today. Like, did you see that?
No, I thought you were about to talk about the Democrats doing their really performative
Jesus.
Wakanda forever shit.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
No, the DC count, whatever county that was, the prosecutor, he came out today. He was talking about the charges, and then he just started going on a rant like, I'm not on any side. I'm not on their side. I'm not on anybody's side. I'm on justice side. Like he was just going off. He's going crazy. Like he was trying to justify like charging these guys when that whole situation was messed up. It was real fucked up.
I don't know what the Democrats call a slay king, or
I don't know what timeline we're in that Mitt Romney, his magical underwear and his mom jeans, got out and walked and said Black Lives Matter. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Mitt Romney,
besides like the co-opting of
dude,
like the revolutionary movement.
I do not trust Mitt Romney at all. He is
no, he's fucking horrible.
He's such a piece of shit. Like I guarantee he's going to use all of this in some promo piece when he's running for president in 4 years. Like he's just getting ready, man. The last couple years of Mitt Romney going against Trump, it's all bullshit. He's just doing it for his campaign. Because honestly, if he really was what he was about, then he would just switch parties. Just switch parties. Switch parties. That's all I have to say on that.
I can actually see him switching parties. I'm not going to lie. I can see him like leaving the Republicans and doing this big spiel about how the Republicans are lost, like Elizabeth Warren, like the Republicans have lost their way. So now I'm going to become a Democrat. No, everything's going to be better now.
He'll never do it. He gets that Christian money, even though he's not a Christian and Christians love him.
It's that red.
Hey, a Mormon just believes.
They have stock in Red Bull. I shit you not. They have like stock in Red Bull, so they get all that money.
Yeah.
But they can't consume it, but they can buy stocks in it.
It's Pepsi, isn't it? Pepsi. I'm pretty sure it's Pepsi.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah,
they got magic underwear, man.
Whatever drink they can't drink, it's what they make.
Not to wait. I think we already had an episode where we bashed Mormons, but
We can have like 6 to 8 more. That's fine.
They didn't let black people become like members of the church like the 1970s. Like they still like
I
extremely.
believe that in 1978, God changed his mind about black people. I'm a Mormon, and a Mormon just believes.
That was beautiful, Kate. That was beautiful. Is that from the the Book of Mormon, the South Park play, or whatever?
Oh yeah, that's from Book of
Dude,
Mormon.
I want to see that so bad.
It's like sold out still.
It's
Well, now
great.
the pandemic.
You have to see it twice because the only thing better than seeing Book of Mormon is watching other people see Book of Mormon for the first time unprepared for it.
That is awesome.
It's magical. It's absolutely magical.
Absolutely magical. All right.
Hey guys, let's talk to these boys here.
I was just about to say, let's talk about something else that liberals hate. And that's guns.
I'm gonna preface this by saying if you guys think I'm dead by the end of this episode, that's because I don't know anything about guns and I don't know what to do. So, I'm just gonna chill out and vape and just listen.
I still don't know shit about guns.
I don't know shit about guns either. You point one end at something and it goes boom and something happens. I don't fucking know.
I know if I have one, I'm getting killed by cops. So that's all I know.
Damn it. Eugene and Mike.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you have one.
Yeah,
Like,
That's true. He had 32 tiny white guns in his mouth. Kill him.
God, it's so fucking horrible, but true. All right, y'all. So now that I guess I'm a member, I have a bunch of questions too. So Socialist Rifle Association. So how did this start? Like, what you have, like, when I was looking at things, because when I go to shoot, I don't want to have to deal with like being in Alabama. Obviously, it's when gun culture in the U.S. in general is surrounded by like reactionary conservative bullshit and basically white supremacy and all the shit that goes into that with the NRA and all the bullshit lobbying, et cetera. And so it's hard to like go to the range and not have to see that and deal with that bullshit. So like when I was looking for organizations, like-minded people that also like guns, like there was this John Brown Gun Club, there's Redneck Revolt, there's Socialist Rifle Association, there's other organizations. So like what is SRA?
The Crips.
What is SRA? What does it stand for? Who are y'all basically?
Mike, you want me to take that?
Yeah, I mean, you've been since near the beginning, right? So
okay, well, yeah, I mean, in a manner of speaking, but yeah, so I'll go ahead. So yeah, my name's Eugene. Well, the SRA started out as kind of a joke, I think, apparently, from what I recall back about 7 or 8 years ago. And, but then it started growing into like these Facebook pages of kind of independent groups calling themselves SRA, but it wasn't like an official organization. And then it was in 2018 that they incorporated in the state of Kansas into an official organization and allowed, different chapters to develop. And since then it's kind of grown, up until this spring, we had around 3,000 members. And then just in the last 2 to 3 months, we doubled in size. We just hit 6,000 members the other day. So a lot of that, one of the big jumps was when Bernie dropped out, and then the next big bump was when Bernie endorsed Biden, and then after that was the start of all the protests, and that's what's really put us over the top. But I joined in January of 2019, so just a couple months after they incorporated, because I found it on Reddit. And growing up, I'd always been just kind of neutral towards guns because I grew up on a farm, and we used to hunt rabbits and deer and stuff, and I'd shoot them, but I didn't really care about owning guns or anything. But then once Charlottesville happened, that's when I realized I'm gonna have to be able to defend myself. My spouse is a non-white immigrant, and we're living in the middle of nowhere, Alabama, so that's something to worry about. But yeah, that's kind of how SRA came about. You mentioned like Redneck Revolt and John Brown Gun Club. And so like Redneck Revolt is kind of like in the past, they were kind of the umbrella group over all the John Brown Gun Clubs. and they were a bit more of like a defense group style, almost militia, I'd say. And SRA is different from that. We're a educational firearms education and mutual aid disaster relief organization. So we are a 501c4. We don't advocate like carrying guns to protests. In fact, SRA chapters can't attend protests as the SRA. What individual members do is up to their own, discretion, of course. But we just want to teach marginalized groups how to use firearms, how to defend their communities, and then also aid in disaster relief. So last year, when a bunch of hurricanes came through, SRA had like trucks full of donations and stuff going to different churches and dropping them off, those kind of things. So that's kind of what the SRA is about.
So one of the things that, not to get into controversy or whatever, but if people want to look it up, they can look it up. I know Redneck Revolt has had problems in the past with their leadership and whatnot. So I guess my coming to SRA was thinking I didn't want to deal with that. Also, I don't really align ideology with, from what I was reading, like Redneck Revolt and John Brown Gun Club when it comes to that. So is SRA like also a big tent organization when it comes, obviously with the name Socialist Rifle Association, you're not going to have reactionaries joining, but is there an overarching ideology, or is it like a big tent organization? Ideology wise,
I mean, it's really a big tent organization. There's only a few class of people that's not really accepted in the whole org, which is like abusers and cops, as far as I know. I think that's the only two that's like org wide cannot join. Individual chapters may have their own rules, but as it is, there's a lot of like liberals, a lot of socialists, anarchists, various people. So
yeah, I think in the national bylaws, I think it's law enforcement and abusers, if I remember right, and right-wing reactionaries are the only ones that are spelled out as not being allowed in. Our chapter adds landlords to that category, so we don't want landlords. But yeah, like Mike said, I mean, we're just broad spectrum. Anybody basically who's like left a Bernie is going to be welcome. But we definitely don't tolerate any right-wing reactionaries. They get kicked out right away. Liberals, if they're willing to learn and open their minds, then, we'll be happy to take them in. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys added landlords. That's pretty awesome. I guess my next question is when it comes to education and when it comes to mutual aid, I've been like, before I found you, I was telling folks for a while, and I've actually talked to a number of people over Signal about like, let's share this idea, and just like talking to different groups that I think that, not groups, but different people, different friends of mine around the country that trying to just explain to people that even if Trump loses, like it's not going to end this tide of white nationalism and reactionary thought that's very well armed and very well trained. When it comes to training and education, could you elaborate more into that? Because you see that, Oath Keepers, right? So they have like their quote unquote Spartan training camps, and they have I've seen YouTube videos where they have actually, because they're all former military, come in and they teach people how to evacuate people that have been injured. They teach firearm training, speed drills, et cetera, et cetera. So could you go more into like, when you mean education, like what do y'all mean?
Well, the main difference is we're not a far right paramilitary organization.
Oh shit! I joined the wrong org. Fuck.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's always a chapter by chapter basis. But right now, a lot of chapters are gaining the ability to do concealed carry permit training for people. We have a lot of people that join. Since we're on the left side of things, we have a lot of people that join who have never touched a gun in their life. So we get them up to speed on that, make sure that they don't hurt themselves or someone else. I'm currently trying to get concealed carry permit training ability so that I can, help our members out in that way. Because right now, in Alabama, you don't really need training. You just pay the sheriff, and that's it. But most people would like training, and the only options are like NRA or other places where you're going to just not feel safe being in the same room, honestly. So I would do a lot of first aid training, just pretty much anything. right now we're about to start doing survival training stuff. Honestly, it's just a camping trip, but you know.
Yeah, I saw the camping trip. Definitely interested in that. I'm kind of iffy on the. Not going to talk about it over this, but we'll talk about it later. Like the location, but I mean, it's whatever. I mean, I like camping, and camping with y'all and camping with guns would be pretty cool. But we'll talk about that later. But no, that sounds cool. Eugene, did you want to chime in with something?
No, Mike pretty much covered it. Yeah. I mean, like our range days, basically, we'll have people come to them who, you know, are super into guns and they know everything about them. And then we'll have people who just, like Mike said, they never touched a gun in their life, and nobody's ever been like a gatekeeper or anything like that. All the experienced people are more than happy to share their knowledge. And especially, you know, when we have marginalized folks come in, who are inexperienced, especially, you know, trans members, people of color, you know, people like that. That's who we're more than happy to help out with, because you know their communities are the most at risk right now, so they need the most self-defense training.
So you had mentioned, like in the initial description of like how SRA is structured, that it's a 501c4, not a 501c3. So you all do have the ability to lobby. Curious as to like what actions you all are participating in regards to what types of gun legislation you all support, what kind of participation does that look like from your organization?
All right. Well, I don't know specifics. I'll let Eugene cover that in a minute. But like ideologically, we know that gun control legislation in America is like historically targeted Black and, you know, marginalized people. I mean, the first part where gun control became, I guess, mainstream was when they needed to disarm the Black Panthers, right? So we really oppose most types of gun control because a lot of them are just like paying more fees or paying more for like ammo or, you know, anything like that. And that's just hurting the poor people while, you know, the vast majority of gun owners who are right wing, a lot of them are more wealthy. They can just do whatever they want. So.
Yeah, and I mean, to reiterate what Mike said, yeah, definitely gun control has always been and will always be about keeping guns out of the hands of oppressed minorities. It's never about safety or stopping school shootings or anything like that. There was, I know the other day, I think it was the Buffalo Bills new quarterback was talking on Facebook to some people, and he said, we need to make guns so expensive that only rich white people can have them. And I was like, you just said the quiet part out loud, dude. Like, but anyway, so that's kind of the attitude, yeah, that basically, you know, people like the NRA have. The NRA only exists really to protect shareholders of gun corporations anymore. That's what it's all about. And they just want to keep, you know, just like that Buffalo Bills guy, they just want to keep it in the hands of rich white people. They don't, which has become obvious as they haven't said a single thing about like Breonna Taylor or Ahmaud Arbery or any of these other, you know, situations.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Oh yeah. But yeah, as for like gun legislation and everything, nationally, we have positions that we've put out on our website of what, you know, we think like quote unquote common sense gun control is. The only specific example we've had so far is when the big thing came up, I think back in February it was, with Virginia, when they had that big Second Amendment protest day or whatever. The local liberal gun club and the local SRA were able to speak on the floor of the Virginia House of Delegates and give their positions. So that was pretty cool. So they were, you know, I mean, it was so cool to see like on video, they're like, okay, and the Virginia Socialist Rifle Association will now speak or something like that. So I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, so that, and we've just changed our national structure. We were being led by a central committee that was only like 6 to 8 people or something. But now we've completely changed our bylaws and we're going to be led by a National Assembly, which is made up of representatives from each chapter, and I'll be running for our chapter seat. So we'll see if people like me enough in our chapter, but they'll be the decision-making body, and so hopefully we'll have a lot more input on kind of national legislation, and I think that's going to be a big issue this upcoming election.
So what for, like, when you say sensible legislation, what form does that take for you all?
Well, the main one is like, in Alabama, you can walk into a gun store, buy a pistol same day, and carry it concealed on your person within like 24 hours, depending on how quickly your county sheriff processes applications. I don't think people need to be carrying, small concealed pistols, which are really the hardest guns to control, within the same day without having any kind of training, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think training is just absolutely required, gun safety training. And in my personal opinion, I'm not going to speak for the org on this, but definitely full background check. Now, I don't necessarily personally believe that previous felony or misdemeanor convictions should disbar you from owning a gun, because I also believe in, prison abolition, and just the whole way our justice system is just built, of course, to oppress minorities. So that shouldn't necessarily disqualify somebody from owning a gun, but maybe looking at the specific crime, obviously if they're guilty of murder or something, that would probably be a good idea to keep somebody from owning a gun. But and then look at mental health issues. But then again, with mental health issues, we tell our members that if they think that they have a mental health issue, they could just borrow a gun during range day, or if they do want to purchase their own firearm, they can take it apart and keep part of it at a friend's house, part of it at their house, something like that. Really, for a lot of guns, you can just take out the firing pin and then the gun is useless. And so that's one way to kind of counter that.
It's funny when you talk to people. No, I was saying it's funny.
Go
when
ahead. I asked the last question. You rock and roll, buddy.
It's funny when you talk to people about like felons getting voting rights back, and they're all like, "Oh no," conservatives like, "Oh no, they shouldn't." But then it's like, "Well, what about guns?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, everyone should have a gun." It's just like the contradictions crack me up. I wanted to ask, because there was when I was looking into orgs to join, there was a lot of problems from what I heard. Not with y'all, I heard nothing but good things from y'all, but other organizations. When it comes to like basically white dudes with guns, like I don't know what comes over us, but we just like feel like we're fucking Rambo, and with that comes a lot of toxicity and a lot of just bullshit. So like, what does the chapter and what does SRA, I guess, nationally do to really combat I guess the chauvinism and the toxicity that comes with white dudes and guns? Because it seems to be, I think, a lot of, from what I'm hearing, there's a reason why like a lot of marginalized communities don't want to join these organizations, because they do see them still as like white, cishet, male dominant, and they understand that like, all right, these people may agree with this ideology wise, but it's still unnerving to see them with guns. So is there like is there anything specifically that the chapter does or nationally to like really combat that, like the toxic masculinity that comes around gun culture?
Well, I can see that since Mike isn't unmuting himself, that he's leaving that up to me to answer. So thanks. So in my opinion, one thing we've seen definitely on like our national communications platforms is people get called out immediately for any kind of, toxicity, or really, actually, our bigger problem we've had than toxicity within our own culture in the SRA is just leftist infighting. And so people call out each other a lot on that. And, it's all the Marxists' fault. So whatever. But
Whoa.
Hey,
First off,
get out of here, you fucking tanky.
Yeah. Whoa, hey, fuck you. Okay, get out the fuck that. I was gonna vote for you, but if you're gonna pull that anarchist bullshit, I don't want to. I run against you. This is bullshit. Okay,
Nah,
look.
nah.
We get along. I'm like the biggest tank in existence. And
Thank
Eugene
you.
is a pretty big anarchist, and we've gotten along to grow the chapter.
Yeah.
See, this is it. This moment right here, like this, everybody who like wants to know like why it is so difficult for the left to get anything done. This moment of four people who clearly like each other, just yelling and pointing fingers and name calling.
Look, Rosa, we get it. The general strike.
Very
It's not going to happen in America.
Shut the fuck up. Like, don't quit fucking talking over women. God damn it, Nelson.
Talk over. Just use
Sit
specifically.
Down. Hey, Mike, Eugene, can you please tell us how to combat, like chauvinism and gun culture? Excuse me while I talk over my female co-host.
I didn't talk about podcast culture. I was talking about gun culture.
Whoa.
Well, we don't
this
tolerate
moment right
sectarianism.
here. This moment right here. This is why we can't get shit.
I want to clarify that we break balls here on the podcast, and I respect Kate, and she's one of the smartest people I know, and she is a great addition to this podcast, and we're lucky to have her.
And Nelson is also here.
Did you just backpedal out of that?
Is that you say you're breaking balls? Is that some kind of male-centered?
Oh, for fuck's sake!
It definitely was.
Mike, I like you. Mike can stay. Mike,
I'm getting recasted. This is my own podcast. I got kicked off.
As an SJW, I'm
just what Steve Jobs felt like.
Anyway, I don't remember what we were talking about. So I wanted to just like circle back a little bit to you all were talking about like have the easy access in Alabama to purchase and immediately carry. In Tennessee, we are in the middle of passing permitless carry legislation. Like, where do you all stand on that? Good or bad? Like, what implications come? Because, generally the liberal stance is this is a bad idea, and the conservative stance is this is a great idea. But from what you all are saying, there's a lot more nuance to it. So walk us through that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, imagine that there's some gun control paths where you have to take an 8-hour training course and pay for that training course to get your license. Not everyone has 8 hours to go do a course, probably on a weekday. Not everyone can afford to pay for a permit. These things kind of have to be addressed before you can have gun control that's not discriminatory. So I'm not sure where the answer lies with that. There's a lot of smart people out there that can deal with that than me. But, I just know that there's an issue there. So.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll add, like, I'm not a huge conspiracy nut, but I don't know. I'm not too comfortable with like the government having some sort of database, even if it's on the county level, of all the people who own guns. And then, I don't know, because you saw back when Donald Trump first came into office, he was trying to get access to all the voter rolls and everything, which, thank God all the governors just told him to go fuck himself. But and so I think what Mike said, though, is a lot more important, though. It's all about access. And, if they would, first of all, offer the courses, if the government would offer the courses, then they would offer it for free, instead of requiring that it be done through like the NRA or the USCCA, and then somehow make it to where people could be excused from work and be covered for that pay, or I don't know, something like that. Then I could see the courses being a good idea, and then not being given a permit or being given a permit either way. But yeah, like I said, like Mike said, it's just kind of hard to figure out where to stand on that.
So if that type of legislation is coming from a Republican legislature, like, what is the motivation for them behind it, since it would negate that gatekeeping argument?
It's food for their base.
Yeah, I would argue that it's they're in the pockets of the NRA, and the NRA, like, I don't know, it seems like the NRA wants the least amount of restrictions between a person being able to own a firearm as possible.
That is not true whatsoever.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, cool. Never mind then. I learned something today.
The NRA has.
Yeah, if you can
explain, please.
expand on that as much as possible, because I'm coming from the perspective of like, this is not a gun owning household, and I do not understand. It's like, I don't understand at all, not from entirely from lack of exposure to any kind of leftist gun culture. So like, please educate my lily white ass.
One of the biggest supporters of the Gun Control Act of 1968, which, was in a direct response to the Panthers, was the NRA. They pushed pretty heavily for it because they didn't like it when people that didn't look like them had guns too. It was kind of a status symbol for them and a way that they could continue, oppressing others. So they have also, like, during the entirety of the 20th century, they lobbied a lot for different gun control legislation. I don't have a list with me because I didn't think to find one before this. So, but I do know that, and I can get you links later. So.
And I'll add to that the NRA, like as it currently exists, is a lot more about increasing the wealth of the shareholders of major gun corporations. It's so much of it's just tied up into money. And that's one of the main reasons that they try to get any sort of gun legislation blocked. It's not out of some sort of, altruistic love of people being able to defend themselves. Now, that's my personal opinion. That's not necessarily the position of our national organization, but I will say our national organization is not pro-NRA in any way whatsoever. One of our favorite activities is bashing the NRA anytime something bad happens.
I've always seen them as like something that just supports like the manufacturers and not necessarily owners. It's just like they just lobby to make sure Remington Freedom Group and all those people can get more money and not necessarily they care about like white gun owners, obviously, and not because like Mike said with the Mumford Act in California, obviously the NRA was for that because they didn't want black people to own guns.
Yeah, and I mean, to add to that, yeah, I've talked to plenty of NRA members who just say that like their local NRA chapter is pretty useless. They don't do a whole lot when it comes to training members, that kind of thing. It seems like the general membership has said that it seems like the NRA's sole purpose now is just lobbying and nothing else. Which means that they're just not really there for their membership. Their membership is just a tool to get money.
Eugene, can we, before it broke apart into leftist infighting, could you double back to the question before about chauvinism and things like that? Just I feel like there was more before.
Yeah.
Tommy, I'm just going to blame Tommy.
Before me, I think you were just rudely interrupted by a woman.
I fucking quit. I quit. It's my third fucking episode. Fuck you guys. I fucking quit.
It's the fourth episode.
Fuck you. Fuck you. This podcast is not fucking intersectional. Like, fuck all of you.
I'll quit in solidarity.
Mike can stay.
Solidarity forever.
I mean,
like those cops in DC.
No, I was.
No, it's Buffalo.
We do have like leftist infighting, but like within our chapter, I mean, all the leftist infighting itself is just takes place on like, these internet forums and everything where people don't know each other. But within our chapter, we never ever had an issue with leftist infighting, and even within our chapter, we have plenty of MLs and anarchists, and I'm sure we've got Maoists and Trotskyists probably in there who don't say it publicly because they don't want to deal with that. And I mean, plenty of social democrats. I'd say probably the majority of people in SRA are like social democrats. But
hold on, you were
anyway,
you were
so
raking Nelson with the mention of social democrats right now. Like he is in physical pain about.
They killed.
We're
they killed Kate in the past life. They killed Rosa. they did that.
I've got a feeling that none of the Sokdims in America right now were alive back in the days of the Weimar Republic.
I just love that. I just love that thing that popped off like when Bernie was running, and it was like Bernie killed Rosa, and it got everyone to look at like,
Yeah.
how the fuck did Rosa Luxemburg die? And everyone was like, oh fuck, that was bad.
No, I love it on the Worst Year Ever podcast that they have kept the gag running of how Bernie is Bernie was the guy on the grassy knoll that shot JFK. So
I came here on this grassy knoll to kill JFK because he's anti-communist. I see him. I got him. I got the shot. It's a thing.
Look it up.
You're never going to get to release this. It's going to be subpoenaed as evidence.
For everyone listening at home, I want you all to know that, yes, we are recording remotely on account of COVID, and Nelson just took a Sharpie and like hunched himself up into his laptop camera as if it were a rifle, as if he were in a book depository, pew, pew, pewing with the end of a Sharpie right now.
Look, it was Ted Cruz's father on the grassy knoll. Everyone
you all
knows
are
that.
Asking for.
It was Ted Cruz's dad on the grassy knoll. The babushka lady got it on camera, but she was an FBI agent, and that's what happened. It's a thing.
Okay, so yeah, to answer the actual question about 30 minutes after it was asked. So basically we've I think one helpful thing to fight toxicity, and overt masculinity and that kind of shit is just the fact that we're leftists, first of all. So we brought in a lot of the leftist stuff. Like one of the things I learned when I first became a leftist was this acronym WAIT, W-A-I-T, why am I talking? And it's primarily, directed towards white cishet guys, where it's like, are you trying to make a point while a woman is saying something? Just shut up. Why am I talking? Is there, a trans person talking about their experience, but you really want to ask a question, and talk over her or him? Just shut up. Things like that. And so we see that being reinforced a lot, and it helps that I think somewhere between like 15 and 20% of our membership is trans. And we have a growing number of women in the SRA as well. And then, things like instead of trying to talk over somebody, you just do snaps and stuff like that. And within our own chapter, we haven't seemed to have too much of an issue with it yet. I don't know, Mike might disagree. I don't know what his opinion about that is. But yeah, it's definitely, people get called out all the time on our national communications platforms. And within our own bylaws, I made sure that when I wrote them up, because me and Mike and a third person, Joan, we were the founders of the chapter. And so we sort of put the bylaws together and voted on them. But, excuse me, Jesus. When I wrote the bylaws,
Korean drink that you had.
Yeah, it's that nasty ass Korean juice I just drank. When I put the bylaws together, I made sure to put a huge section about members' rights in there. And members' rights, it specifically states that, if the membership of the chapter or even the chapter leadership does anything that makes you uncomfortable, you are more than welcome to go behind their backs and go to national or go to another chapter for arbitration. And I wholeheartedly, and I told that to everybody who I vet, to make sure to let them know that if me or anybody else in the chapter or chapter leadership ever says anything or does anything to make them feel uncomfortable, that they should go behind our backs to national. And I don't mind being called out at all. The chapter closest to us is North Georgia, and so I've specifically said that they could be the arbitrators if necessary. And the leader of the North Georgia chapter right now is a woman, and she's awesome, Sarah. She's a great person. So, I look forward to working with them too if anything like this ever happens.
So that actually, you mentioned something that kind of flows into this next question. So that people in the South understand like the northern parts of southern states tend to be some of the worst. So like North Georgia, right? So you have like Forsyth County, and Northeast Alabama, obviously the Coleman area, Coleman County. with things like the Greensboro massacre, and then talking about Charlottesville, the rise of far right white nationalism and Nazis and fascists, what's the pushback been when obviously right-wing groups find out that there's leftists with guns in these traditionally reactionary parts of states? So has the chapter seen any pushback? Do you have any stories from like around the country? Because obviously with those two events, like that's what got me, Charlottesville, like one of y'all said, like Charlottesville also got me involved into gun culture. My dad is a trumpeter, and my mom's like your typical like liberal that doesn't like guns. And my dad, like being a reactionary, like never was really into like gun culture. So like this is all new to me, and I'm having to learn just from like people that I've met, especially like ex-military leftists, like learning from them, and then learning from other people that are liberals to leftists that have guns. And the YouTube videos basically has been my introduction. So like talk about like how, like basically what happens, or if anything happens, or if y'all know of anything or have experienced when reactionary groups find out that like SRA or John Brown or Redneck Revolt are in areas that are historically reactionary.
Right. Maybe Eugene can talk to more nationally, but I know that here what they do is they just troll our Facebook page and send us lots of angry messages. So they're really,
are they misspelled and they have a lot of commas?
Oh, all of them. You know, clearly communism's goal is to disarm the whole population. So it's really stupid that we're leftists that own guns. That's what we've been told. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the first review we ever got on our Facebook page was this guy saying like the goal of socialism is communism, and communism goes directly against our Constitution. Our Constitution has the Second Amendment, so you guys don't even know what you're standing for. And I was like, that's some great leaps of logic right there. But yeah, I mean, I got sent a death threat once. Logic. Yeah, exactly. I got sent a death threat once. So, and I freaked the fuck out when that happened. But since then, I've realized, you know, whatever, fuck it. I'm gonna die anyway, either from diabetes or getting shot by a cop with a fucking beanbag gun or something. So, was it by mail, email? No, it was through Facebook. I guess somehow they figured out it was. He sent a video of just a guy getting shot in the back of the head. So that was cool. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. Content warning on that. And actually I was going to also just add to the last question about the chauvinism thing. In National, we have a member welfare council in addition that handles any and all of these cases. And they're very, it's not just a bunch of white guys. They make sure that they have a very broad, diverse membership on that council to handle any kind of issues like that come up. But yeah, going back to this question, we do a lot of we do vetting also if reactionaries try to join, and this is something that some chapters started doing last year, and then our chapter started doing it near the beginning of this year, and now National requires all chapters to do it. Especially since, you know, the major growth recently. And I've gotten so many Facebook messages and emails and Twitter messages and Instagram messages where people are just like, hey, you guys sound really cool. When and where do you meet? And I'm like, yeah, nice try.
Nice try, FBI.
Yeah. So I always just tell them the same thing. We only give that information to fully vetted members. Once you join, you pay the $25 a year fee. Or you can apply for a waiver if you can't afford the $25 a year fee. And SRA usually grants those waivers if I think you have to have some people vouch for you that are already members to be able to do that. And then we look at all your social media. We interview you a couple times,
listen to the podcasts.
Yeah. Then, and we'll meet with you to make sure that you're on the straight and narrow. You're not in one of those 4 categories that we don't allow. And that's really, I mean, the best defense. If we're kind of suspect, but we still let you in. We'll keep a good eye on you. So we've got 3 people watching Nelson right now. So, but
And he means watching. Like, I'm recording this from his closet. I don't know how he hasn't heard me.
yeah.
Oh fuck!
I mean,
My
there's
God,
look
fuck,
like
you fit in
eyes
there.
at the top.
Holy shit! Mike's in the closet with my. I don't know how I got shelves and toilet paper in there. I don't know how the fuck you fit in there. It's just like there's no way. So he must be invisible. Mike, I'm on to you. I'm on
It's
to
the
you.
FBI training.
That's good. I'll let my handler know. We're probably in the same unit. I have a question. Unless Kate or Tommy, unless you want to, I have another question. Unless y'all wanted to jump in with them.
Yeah, if I'm an SRA member, do I get cheap airline tickets? Is that a thing?
No, we only travel by train. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
It's a
I'm
socialist
down
thing.
with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hell yeah, I love
it's very
trains.
Soviet.
It's like
Miss
Snow. It's like
trains.
Snow. It's like Snowpiercer.
I
That's the only train I don't
legitimately-
like.
I miss living in a city that actually has like a functioning train system. That's like the only thing I miss about Chicago is like transit. Trains are fucking awesome.
Are there
Like,
trains
can
in
we-
Alabama?
Can we
Yeah,
divest police departments and build more goddamn fucking train transit?
The
That's what
Amtrak.
I want.
Yeah, you can go down to
I think got
Henderson
destroyed.
and ride up to Chattanooga.
Yeah, I think you can do that. The Amtrak route in Mobile, I think, got destroyed. by one of the
Amtrak
hurricanes.
fucking sucks though. Like
I judge
Amtrak
cities on mass transit, and trains is
Oh
one
my
of them.
god. Right, Amtrak has like the most goddamn unreliable schedule in the entire it shows up when it shows up and it leaves when it
And
feels
it's
like
like-
it and
I got
It's
kicked
more
off an
expensive
Amtrak.
than
when you're gonna
fucking
get to where
planes.
you were going.
I got kicked off an Amtrak train once in DC because I got on the wrong train. I had the wrong ticket. We were going to PSL's People's Congress of whatever resistance, whatever it is in DC. My friend Daniel and I, we got on the wrong train from Baltimore to DC, and we got kicked off at this stop. We had to wait for like another hour before the actual train. That was definitely not as nice as the first train we were on. And so that was interesting. And we were singing that Alex Jones folk song the entire time that was making fun of him. And I'm glad no one else was around there because they're probably going to be like, who are these 2 fucking weirdos singing this song to each other, waiting for this train that's never going to come?
Was Joe Biden on the train with you?
Actually, yeah, he was. He made a racist joke, but all the liberals laughed because they're like, oh, it's just Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
And then you did
While he was
this
behind him,
test.
he was behind him caressing his shoulders.
It was corn pop.
We're rubbing his extremely smooth head.
He was. He was caressing it very coquettishly.
I just shaved it today, by the way, because I had sunburn. I got sunburn at the rally because I stupidly did not have a hat on. I'm a new bald person. Eugene's probably like, rookie mistake. I didn't have a hat on.
God damn it.
And I got burned. And so I was like, I probably need to shave it and put some lotion on to make sure it doesn't hurt anymore. But no, I'm good.
Right. Well, this has gone fully off the rails. I'll separate
Oh,
the
boots!
podcast.
Oh, I like that one. Talking about trains went off the rails. Shit.
I do want to point out a second ago when Tommy said coquettishly, I thought he said coke head-ishly.
I am way
Yes.
too fat to be a cokehead. I'm way too fat.
John Belushi would have a thing or two to say to you about that.
Look, that's a whole nother level, man. That is
Yeah, and Farley.
yeah. Well, Farley was doing other things. Let's rest in peace. Wah, wah,
Well,
wah.
Yeah.
final note on the SRA, since this is, I think we're past that.
Um,
Welcome to Dixie
One of
Pool.
the-
We can't fucking stay on topic. We can't do it.
so the next what was I gonna say? I totally forgot my question.
Well, that's good.
Oh no, I remember my question. I remember because it was a big discussion on Twitter, and you know how Twitter leftists get, and it's. So what other groups do quote unquote counter recruitment? Does SRA do anything like that, or do they just stay away from that and just whoever is an actual leftist that wants to come in and join, and you don't like go out and try to talk to these groups that we don't necessarily like and try to counter recruit.
Okay,
is that a thing? Or?
I can handle this one. We're a, I don't know, I hate to use the term, but we're a safe space for people who aren't Juds. So the primary thing here is that everyone feels safe. We're not going to go out of our way to try to recruit some conservative and like change their mind. We prefer for them to be on the same page before they come. So we don't invite outside members to the range day unless everyone's okay with it. Like, it's more important that everyone feels safe than, someone else joins. That's fine.
Yeah, to add to that, like if we do any recruiting, we're going to go to marginalized groups. We're not going to go to like fucking gun shows or anything like that. If people like that are interested, they can reach out and talk to us. But I'm not going to risk having somebody come to a range day who might have ulterior motives and try to dox all our members or something like that. Or intentionally misgender like a trans comrade or something like that, or try to tell some sort of off-color joke. So I just don't really want to deal with that, and especially then be fucking held responsible for it. So yeah, I would much rather go like we do tabling at events, and the events will be either run by liberals or leftists. So far our chapter's only done one. It was something up in Huntsville, and we talked to a good variety of people, and there was even I think there's like that gun control group like Moms Demand Action or something, and we had a good constructive conversation with them, and they were real nice folks. But yeah, I'd much rather go to like, I don't know, a black church or a DSA meeting or something like that to talk to people, than go to like a fucking gun show or something.
Do you all have any intention of, like, either as an individual chapter or as a national entity, since you have C4 status, do you all have any intention of endorsing candidates?
That's something that comes up every now and then, and we just, I don't know. The current president of SRA until the National Assembly takes effect, Alex, she has been kind of on the Howie Hawkins train, I think. Which, whatever. I like Howie.
We call them the Howie homies.
But the Howie homies, yeah.
I like that it's not gendered.
yeah, instead of like Bernie Bros or some shit like that. Yeah, she's been wanting us to like work with the Greens, which I'm all for. I mean, Greens are great, and they're being pushed further left. They're finally weeding out all the fucking liberals in the party. But yeah, endorsing specific candidates, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if Bernie got the nomination, probably the SRA would have. I don't know, even though he said he was, working towards like gun legislation and everything that was part of his platform, but I don't think he would have done anything about that. He knows which way the wind is blowing on that shit. Yeah, oh, Mike, yeah, you go ahead.
Funny story on that. I don't guess it's really a secret because anyone in Slack can tell. We've had a few people running for a position as like a representative somewhere that would join up and start shilling for their campaign in their very first introduction post, which is very funny.
Yeah. And then like this one happened like 2 weeks ago. Somebody did that. They're running for office down in like Arizona or Texas or somewhere like that. And then a bunch of members went and looked at their campaign page, and they're like, "Oh, I believe in common sense gun control." And I'm like, "We're like, why did you join us if because like the things they would list would be kind of counter to some of the stuff that we were for." So
well, they're looking like the coveted SRA endorsement,
right? yeah, they want to get that SRA bump.
My next, unless Kate or Tommy have anything, I have another question to y'all. Good. My next question, I guess, comes to another thing, not necessarily counter recruitment, but kind of a thing that did blow up on Twitter a bit, but we don't know how Twitter is. Military folks. So 3 of the people that I consider very, very good comrades, one of which is the person who has shown me everything that he knows about firearms, are former military. 2 of them are combat vets. 2 of them are black, the other one's white. And one of these who we've been on the show, Travis, Iraq war veteran, now is an outspoken activist, totally anti-war, going farther to the left every day as I've seen it. The other one was a Marine Scout sniper coach, and the other one was a former Force Recon Marine, all of which have either like hate Trump, despise war, what they've done, et cetera, whatever, and embrace like more leftist ideas and terminology, but also have like a plethora of knowledge that I think leftists need when it comes to gun education and knowing how to do things. There's one thing to just plink at a target at a range. It's another thing to know how to break down properly, clean your weapon, tactics, other stuff like that. But a lot of people are still iffy about should they let not necessarily active military people in, but former military who have seen how bullshit war is and seen how bullshit the system is and have come out completely disillusioned with the Corps or the Army or whatever branch they've been in, and have that knowledge and want to join a group. So obviously they're not cops, but they have participated in the American imperialist system, but they've renounced that and they're more on the left and et cetera. You know what I'm getting at? So like, what is SRA's stance on like shit like that?
I don't think there's an official organization stance. I'm sure it varies chapter to chapter, but I mean, there's, there's like 2 different types of comrades who could come from the military. There's the people that would probably sign up from Alabama, which is, holy shit, get me out of this small town. I don't want to ever return to this shithole. And then there's people that join up because they want to go fight and then realize that war is terrible, and they come back, and all the people that represent them in government, they're talking about how they love the troops, just don't give a shit about them after they get back. So we don't bar anyone in our chapter for their military service or anything, because you can't change what happened in the past, right?
Yeah, and this is a question that comes up, I swear to God, like weekly in the SRA. Somebody will say like, hey, there's somebody who wants to join our chapter, but they're, a veteran. Can we let them in? And the answer is always yes. Like we, as an organization, we have no issue with veterans. If they want to join the SRA, more than likely they, have renounced like the imperialism and all that. And I think, Nelson, honestly, you summed it up perfectly. Like they just have skills that we need to learn from. And yeah, I personally have no issues with vets. Now, if their attitude is going to be, like, oh yeah, we definitely should have been in Iraq or, Afghanistan or whatever like that, like then, just that's different. But as long as they align with even the minimum of our ideology, then I'm fine with them.
Cool, because that's what I've been trying to stress to a lot of people. I was like, the right, I've gone on this rant many times, but the right is armed to the teeth, and they have all the training because there are a lot of ex-military, a lot of ex-law enforcement. They continuously train, and they continuously like teach each other and promote and et cetera and whatever. And the left is just like, half of us, 2/3 of us have never picked up a gun in our life, let alone know how to break one down, clean it, et cetera. So like that knowledge that I think that vets that have renounced the bullshit could bring to us, like that knowledge is definitely something that the left needs to take a hold of. Like, granted, Travis put it perfectly. He's like, there's 2 types of people that he saw in Iraq. There were the people, like you said, Eugene, that sign up for college or are pressured by family, and they get there and they're like, this is bullshit. Why am I here? They're completely disillusioned and disenfranchised with what's going on. Then you have the majority white other side that like is, generation kill get some, like the whole, like they love it. They love being there. They love killing. They're racist. They're just despicable people. And so obviously we don't want them. We want the other part that has the knowledge, that has the training, and hates what they had to do and is completely disenfranchised and wants to join an organization to help teach and promote, because we desperately need that. Kate, Tommy, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
I'm good. I think this is a lot of food for thought, particularly from a perspective of just like, you know, growing up in an essentially gunless world. You know, not necessarily like from the idea that guns are bad, but that, you know, the idea that like guns are an emblem of the right wing. So thank you all so much for, honestly, for your patience with a lot of this like line of questioning, because, you know, like I've been telling people all day, you know, just like, yeah, we're talking to these SRA guys tonight, and, you know, I'm having to walk into this, like, you know, with a completely blank slate, open mind. I have one friend in particular who's going to be really annoyed that, like, he didn't get to be the one to enlighten me to all of this. But yeah, no, I appreciate you all like so much giving the time to walk through all of these questions, because I think even outside of liberalism, a lot of the left is still very much anti-gun for good or bad or misguided reasons. So, like, thank you all so much for giving us the opportunity to just explore this a lot more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You go ahead, Mike.
We said the same thing at the same time. Perfect. The hive mind. Just a closing note, honestly, just a little quote that I want to throw out there is, you know, no one in the SRA, or at least no one openly, is like pro-violence or anything. You know, that's just not what we do. But like for me personally, I signed up after reading Revolutionary Suicide by Huey P. Newton, or like autobiography of, and a quote that sticks out to me from, it's not Huey, it's Malcolm X, but sometimes you have to pick up the gun to put the gun down. The cops are clearly not going to protect us. The state's not going to protect us. We have to do it ourselves. The ideal is that no one needs a gun, right? But I don't think we're there.
Yeah, and you know, I'll add to that. You know, when it comes to people being uncomfortable with guns, so, you know, like I mentioned, I grew up on a farm, and yeah, I mean, we had like, I would shoot rabbits and stuff with 22s, and that's a lot different from using handguns and ARs. The first time I ever touched a handgun was in April of last year when I bought my first one. And, you know, I didn't know anything about guns. I'm still pretty much a beginner. And Mike has just, you know, gone out of his way to show me and teach me. I mean, he taught me how to clean the gun and how to do proper stance, how to hold it correctly. And never once did he act like, you know, oh, you should know this, or like act like he was, you know, act like he was some sort of asshole teacher or anything like that. And that's just kind of the attitude we all have towards the beginners, is we don't want to scare people away from them. We just want to show that guns are a tool, and, you know, they should be used safely like any other tool, and put away when they're done, and not used. Like, I think open carry is kind of a bullshit thing. Like, unless, you know, 20 of us were at a protest with a bunch of ARs, just to make sure that, you know, the cops would not, you know, harass us or something like that. That's a different story. But, you know, so much of it is about bravado and just being macho and everything. And we're just trying to show that it's all just about protection. And just like Mike said, you know, government definitely isn't going to protect us. You know, even when you look at crime statistics of reported crimes that lead to arrests and incarceration, it's almost nothing. So we're the only ones that can protect ourselves.
Well, I definitely feel like I learned a lot. So, and thank you guys for coming on and dealing with our unprofessionalism.
Yes.
But yeah, this has been great. I mean, if I ever do decide to get a gun, I would definitely go the SRA route. It sounds a lot better than the NRA route.
Well,
That's the understatement of the fucking century right there.
And I definitely do. We definitely do appreciate y'all having us on. I love this show. I've been listening to it since y'all started last year. So, yeah, I definitely highly recommend it. I always tell people about it. And we just love being on here. So thank y'all.
Yeah. No problem. Thanks for coming on. I can't wait to meet y'all in person at the range day. It's gonna be cool. I'm glad I joined, and y'all seem cool. And I can't wait to actually. I normally do shoot with one other person that's like-minded, but it's nice gonna be able to shoot with other people that are like-minded. Real quick before we go, just one or the other, 5.56 or 7.62. Eugene, you first. Which one do you prefer?
5.56.
Mike?
The Tanky Emmy wants to say 7.62, but
I know,
since
right?
we're here in America and everyone has like barrel loads of U.S. military rounds at their house, it's going to have to be the AR. It's a lot cheaper. It's the weapon of the proletariat.
It really is. I wanted an AK, but goddamn, those things are so fucking expensive for a good one.
AR stands for assault rifle, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's the 15. The AR-15 is the assault rifle 15. It's the 15th one, that's been designed. So
y'all don't
Also,
want the 13th one. That's horrible.
real quick before we all sign off, since 80% of our listeners have no idea what Nelson just asked you, just real quick on the record, the Smiths or the Cure?
They answered this.
it's secure, yeah.
Like I said at the beginning when we were talking about this, I hate new wave, but if I were to go with one of them, it would be the Cure. So, but Ramones, Sex Pistols, The Clash,
The
all
Ramones.
the way.
The Sex Pistols, seriously?
Sex
Yeah.
Pistols suck.
I
Yeah.
saw the Sex Pistols live in 2003.
He's so old.
Eugene's been
So
canceled.
old.
No,
Cancel Eugene.
You saw
I'm with
a
them.
Sex
I'm with
Pistol.
you. I'm
No.
with you on the Sex Pistols and Ramones. I love them. Thank you very
It
much.
was
Oh my
Two reactionary membered bands.
it was all four of the original Sex Pistols because the bass player was replaced by Sid Vicious, and then he
Yeah.
fucking died because he's an idiot. But yeah, so I saw the original Sex Pistols. It was the only show on that tour where Dropkick Murphys wasn't there too, so that was a pain in the ass.
All right, there you guys have it.
So this is June 8th. At Dixieland, the proletariat believe the South will rise again, but this time for the right reasons, those being worker-owned means of production, decolonization, and self-determination. For all oppressed peoples, we are coming to you from the heart of Dixie, Montgomery, Alabama. We'd also like to recognize we're recording on occupied land. The rightful belongs to Muskogee and the Chickasaw and their people. Thank you, Eugene and Mike from Northeast Alabama SRA. If y'all like what you heard, reach out to SRA, find your local chapter, unless you're a cop, and talk to them. And maybe it's the right place for you. I think it'll be fun. And good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you.